The literacy section is divided into 3 separate modules, each focusing on a distinct tier of support. This module's focal point describes effective practice in Tier 1. The PowerPoint was designed to accompany the case study and handouts for this section. This provides an opportunity for the participants to interact with the material and to discuss and develop or enhance the tiers of support. You are not limited to the strategies and supports described here. Please feel free to apply components you are familiar with in your school or district. This module is divided into 3 separate sections. The first section, slides 3 through 33, describe the components necessary to ensure effective instruction takes place in core. In this section, we'll discuss screening, choosing effective literacy support, progress monitoring, and differentiation. Included also are recommendations and examples of available resources to support implementation of effective practices. The recording time in this section is approximately 14 minutes long. The second section, slides 34 through 38, provides an opportunity for participants to apply the recommendations to a case study. The recording time in this section is 6 minutes, but please provide extra time to work through the documents and share information with colleagues. The last part, section 3, slides 39 through 43, are video examples of effective instruction. Each video requires additional viewing time. The elementary example is approximately 7.5 minutes long. The middle school example is approximately 6 minutes long, and the high school example is approximately 8.5 minutes long. Total viewing time is approximately 22 minutes. Please feel free at any time to pause the presentation to review or discuss the information. Thank you. Let's begin with effective literacy instruction. The problem-solving process should be utilized when making decisions across all 3 tiers of instructional support. Ensuring the use of the problem-solving process provides the structure to identify, develop, implement, and evaluate the strategies selected to accelerate the performance of all students. A tiered system of support ensures instruction and intervention are delivered based on student need. This is a visual representation to share reading as a very complex process requiring skill development by first establishing a foundation to process print, by converting print to sound, and then by building, integrating, and applying skills learned such as smooth blending, directional tracking, and attention to detail. Then the students can develop skills while reading print such as handling multisyllabic words, building fluency, expanding vocabulary, and developing comprehension skills and strategies. This visual representation shares that reading is a multifaceted skill, that over time the strands are woven together to become more complex, so that a reader has to have that foundational skills in the beginning in order for that student or that reader to become a master over time. It's actually divided into 2 separate areas or 2 components, the first of which includes phonemic awareness, decoding and spelling, and sight word recognition. Reading also requires the language comprehension strand that includes building background knowledge, vocabulary, language that includes grammar and syntax needed for complex sentence structures, verbal reasoning that includes higher order thinking skills, and literacy knowledge that is including the text structure and reading different types of text for many different types of purposes. Ensuring students have acquired foundational reading skills provides a bridge in order for effective literacy instruction to occur. This slide shares recommendations from several sources shown at the bottom of the slide. These are a compilation of research that focuses on literacy. Some of the suggestions are to ensure that You provide an instructional model that incorporates direct, explicit instruction within a safe environment so that students can practice their skills. To provide opportunities to collaborate and openly discuss the material with high expectations. Also, to ensure purposeful reading and assignments essential to mastering the standards. This relevant research on adolescent literacy focuses on 5 states and their journey to improve adolescent literacy in their school and districts. Some of the areas that they have indicated are important are to identify students' literacy needs, to align the resources that you have across the tiers of support, to evaluate the programs that you've initiated in your schools, to raise the expectations of literacy across not only grades but the curricula, build the educator's capacity on a continuous basis, extend the time for literacy, and assess the performance on a continuous basis. This is in alignment with our discussion today. When determining support for struggling learners in Tier 1, several initiatives must be in place in order to prepare for success. The first of which is to screen all students at the beginning of the year and then again at the middle of the year for students who display concerns to see if progress is being made. The second of which is to ensure that you're regularly monitoring the progress and success of those students at each grade level on a continuous basis. And the third is to differentiate the reading instruction for all students based on their need. Let's take a moment and look at the first recommendation to screen students. The FAIR-FS is a reading screening and diagnostic assessment that efficiently measures research components of decoding, oral language, and reading comprehension for all grades K through 12. Initial screening is given to identify those students who may need extra help. After completing the 3 screening tasks, a probability of literacy success score is calculated. This score indicates the probability or likelihood a student will reach end-of-the-year expectations. Those students whose likelihood is below 0.85 will take the syntactic knowledge task in order to obtain additional information regarding that skill set. Teachers have the option to have all students take this task. Diagnostic tests provide a profile of literacy strengths and weaknesses regarding the students. If a teacher wishes to obtain additional information regarding a student's performance, the open response tasks that contain oral reading fluency, oral response, and written response may be also administered. These optional tasks are completely up to teachers' discretion. Once it's determined based on data results, school can make decisions regarding effective literacy support and progress monitoring. There is a lot of support for schools and districts when making decisions regarding programs to support struggling readers. The National Center on Intensive Intervention has provided amazing tools and resources to support schools and districts. This interactive tool chart shares information regarding studies conducted on academic programs. Schools can enter the specific grade level and subject into the system. The page shares pertinent information regarding the study quality, results, intensity, and any other additional research information regarding a particular program. Additionally, by clicking on the title of the program, it provides a pop-up of information of the development and design. The insert shares an example of what that information looks like. Another website that can be utilized when determining support for struggling readers is What Works Clearinghouse. They share over 500 reports regarding the available research and quality of intervention programs. As an example, here is a report summary for language, an intervention for grades 3 through 12. You'll find information regarding the program, its effectiveness, and research. You can also read the full report regarding any program as well. While making a decision to find just the right reading support for your school or district, you might want to take a look at the Adolescent Literacy Intervention Program booklet that provides essential information on over 25 programs. It provides information like the program type, target population, focus, goals, and components targeting grades 4 through 12. It also provides a review guide checklist and screening sheet to capture the information that you're gathering along the way. The next recommendation is to regularly monitor the progress of students at risk at each grade level in order to determine whether or not students are responding adequately to their current instructional environment. Assessments at Tier 1 typically include both formative and summative measures that may occur as frequently as on a daily basis to weekly measures, such as classroom mini-skill assessments that can assist with lesson planning. Assessments also include quarterly benchmark assessments and end-of-the-year summative assessments such as the Florida Standards Assessment, or FSA, and end-of-the-course exams in order to monitor progress of all students and evaluate effectiveness of core instruction. Assessments used in core should be able to answer specific questions in order to help guide problem-solving efforts at Tier 1 and should align with evidence-based instructional practices and Florida standards that all students are expected to meet. Some of those questions are: 1. What % of students are meeting grade level expectations and or are on track for promotion or graduation? 2. Is Tier 1 instruction for each grade level content or subject area effective with approximately 80% or more of the students proficient or are making significant gains? 3. How effective have improvement plans, like the school improvement plan, been at increasing the growth of all students in addition to reaching higher percentages of students obtaining proficiency in content and subject areas? Additionally, you would ask questions like: 4. Which students demonstrate significant gaps between their current performances on Tier 1 assessments in relation to grade level expectations of performance for a given point in time? And 5, what is the relationship between Tier 1 formative classroom assessments or standard-based assessments and performance on summative measures like the Florida Standard Assessments and end-of-the-course exams? Other forms of assessments to consider as common progress monitoring tools are unit assessments, vocabulary, daily in-class formative assessments, homework, in-class participation, observational data, and attendance. The Florida English Language Arts Formative Assessment System, or LFAS, is an instructional resource created to support the statewide implementation of the Language Arts Florida Standards. Designed for teachers in Florida, this resource is a database of K-8 formative assessment tasks and professional development information. The professional development toolkits and modules support Florida standards as a first step to understanding and utilizing the formative assessments and formative instructional practices in their classrooms. The professional development toolkits provide teachers with access to teaching strategies, lesson suggestions, supplemental materials, and information about formative assessments. The toolkits are modular. Module 1 focuses on the Language Arts Florida standards and the instructional shifts, and Module 2 focuses on formative assessments. These resources were written by teachers, for teachers, and reviewed by experts in the field. This site from the Florida Center for Reading Research shares student center activities for use in kindergarten through 5th grade classrooms. There is also a teacher resource guide and professional development DVD that offers insights on differentiated instruction and how to effectively utilize these student-centered materials. This site, the Florida Assessments for Instruction in Reading, has been around for many, many years and provides a plethora of information regarding reading resources. You simply select the category at the top and then choose the components of interest and refine it by grade level. It shares examples of worksheets, templates, lessons, and videos to support reading at all grade levels. Also from NCII website is a tool chart that shares academic progress monitoring tools. Here again, you select the grade level and subject area to narrow your search. Each area provides valuable indicators regarding the progress monitoring tools such as the title, area of assessment, reliability and validity of the tool, alternate forms, end of the year benchmarks, decision rules, etc. As before, clicking on the title provides information regarding the specifics of the tool. Another great resource is this book entitled 25 Quick Formative Assessments. This book is actually divided into 4 separate sections, so it gives students an opportunity to demonstrate their learning in different ways. Some areas like creating summaries or utilizing graphic organizers are in there. Also using a visual representation, and also included in that is the collaborative activities. What I really like about this book is it's actually divided into sections so that teachers can easily determine how to effectively use that formative assessment. It contains the introduction, it has the description and research behind the use of that assessment, a step-by-step approach for the teacher and student to use. The application part tells you what you can assess. Tips for tiering actually includes adaptations for struggling all the way to advanced learners. The technology part shows you how to integrate and provide suggestions for your use. And it actually has a CD with reproducibles and samples as well. If you're interested in looking at this, you can download part of the book actually for free. So it really gives you an opportunity to check it out before you purchase it. Let me share an example from the book. Not only does the author provide a step-by-step approach, also included is a snapshot of what it should actually look like in the classroom. Along with that is a tool for collecting the data, which is a really nice addition for the teacher to use on a consistent basis. To ensure mastery of standards, it is also recommended to differentiate reading instruction for all students. Take a few moments and review this visual representation from Differentiation Central. It shares the key elements, concepts, and relationships and what to consider when addressing the needs of students through differentiation instruction. Understanding the main concepts and the descriptions assists with implementation of effective practice and procedures. To assist with discovering observable differentiated elements within a classroom environment is a handy tool entitled Walkthrough Checklist of Differentiation for Advancing Learning that can be found in the book Advancing Differentiation, Thinking and Learning for the 21st Century by Richard Cash. This document could be used to develop, reflect, or possibly guide an observation for schools looking for evidence of differentiation. A PDF of this document can be found at the link at the bottom of this page. This is a snapshot of the handout Formative Assessment and Differentiation Observation Tool that can also be used to support efforts in classrooms and districts. This is a snapshot of the handout Formative Assessment and Differentiation Rubric that can assist with guiding schools through determining where to provide support based on specific criteria shared within the document. Additionally, this site, Building RTI Capacity out of the University of Texas, shares many walkthrough tools to assist schools on their journey. Found here are the walkthrough tools Explicit Systematic Instruction, Instructional Grouping, Scaffolded Practice, and Differentiated Instruction. These tools can be found at the link at the bottom of the page. This concludes the first section that describes the components necessary for effective instruction to occur. Up next, the application of effective instruction. Let's take some time and apply what we have discussed so far to a case study to ensure effective instruction is taking place. You will need the case study, suggestions for effective interventions resources, formative assessment and differentiation instruction rubric, sequential vocabulary lesson plan, 3-column notes, graphic organizer, and a student group Tier 1 example handout. Take a moment and review the handouts. You'll notice the case study covers all 3 tiers of instruction. For this module, we will only be focusing on Tier 1. Please read pages 1 through 7 of the case study along with the sequential vocabulary lesson plan. While completing the 3-column notes graphic organizer for Tier 1, refer to the suggestions for effective interventions resources and the formative assessment and differentiated instruction rubric handouts. Please take this opportunity to collaborate with colleagues and discuss the effective and ineffective practices and ways to enhance instruction. I'm sure you and your team discovered many examples to complete your graphic organizer. Here are just a few examples that you might have also discovered. In the effective instructional practices category, you might have noticed things like the teacher incorporating a balanced literacy approach, ensuring that he utilizes direct and indirect reading instruction, that he utilizes graphic organizers on a continuous basis, and he also ensures self-monitoring techniques. In the category of opportunities for improvement, you might have questioned if the teacher surveyed his students for strengths in learning. Also, does he use his data results to target instruction? And you also notice probably that there was a lack of enhancement opportunities for his students. So some ideas for enhancement you might have discovered would be things like to analyze the vocabulary test results to determine the holes in learning, rearrange groups, reteach essential vocabulary to students who fell below expectations, utilize the extension activities from the lesson plan, retest students, and probably to incorporate UDL principles as well. So hopefully you will continue to use this conversation and consider ways to enhance instructional practices within your classroom or grade level in Tier 1. So what will be your first step? So let's take it a step further. Utilizing the information from the 3-column note results, one of the recommendations was to rearrange the groups. For your convenience, we provided a small group Tier 1 example handout for you. This is just simply an example of how a teacher could utilize data to formulate groups. So based on the current data information provided by the 8th grade ELA teacher, an effective way to more specifically target the needs of students within Tier 1 could be to rearrange groups more effectively. The teacher shared his classroom formative assessment results. According to the results, out of the 28 students, 6 students failed to meet with teachers' expectations. These students are 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. Additionally, taking a closer look at the FAIR-FS results, these same students displayed concern with word recognition, vocabulary, and syntactic knowledge. I noticed that students 2, 3, and 8 displayed difficulty in all 3 of those areas. Student 7 in word recognition and syntactic knowledge, Student 1 in vocabulary, and Student 4 in syntactic knowledge. When working with his students, the teacher could create his small group instruction as follows. When working on word recognition specifically, he could form a small group with students 2, 3, 7, and 8, and he could utilize strategies such as the dissect strategy, word patterns, and word part strategies. When working on vocabulary, he could ensure students 1, 2, 3, and 8 are together. He could utilize strategies such as graphic organizers like semantic mapping, concept definition, Freyer model, word sorts. Or he could also look at using other strategies like word walls and using words in conversation to create a more focused environment. To uncover and address syntactic knowledge difficulties, he could work specifically with students 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8, and utilize strategies such as vocabulary story development, word order, cloze reading activities, and use words in conversation and reading. The teacher would most likely determine that these strategies are effective for all of his students and could provide opportunities for choice to improve buy-in. The results would be that his students would be able to access, interact, and engage with the material on a consistent basis. Included in the next few slides are video examples of effective Tier 1 instruction. This is an elementary video example that takes place in a 5th grade classroom. This video example takes place in a 7th grade social studies classroom. This high school video example focuses on the benefits of utilizing the gradual release instructional model. This concludes the first section of the literacy module that characterized effective Tier 1 or core instruction. Next, the second section of the literacy module illustrates effective Tier 2 or supplemental instruction.